Hi, welcome back to Module 5 of Straight Line Persuasion. This is the inner game of sales, and this is crucially important here because what happens very often is that we tend to focus on our results in the exterior world, in the real world, and we don't focus on what happens up here. And in fact, success starts inside your mind. You have to condition your mind for success, to condition your mind to move through obstacles, through fears, and to focus on where you want to go in life and not what you're afraid of. See, so many people out there, they have a tendency to live in the problem versus in the solution. So what we're doing here in this module is we're giving you some very powerful tactics, some very powerful techniques that will allow you to develop a laser-guided focus on your outcome, on where you want to go. And you're going to learn some words that are very destructive, things like the word should and the word problems that tend to disempower people. And you're going to learn a process called reframing, where you actually can take those words and apply a new meaning to them that propel you to taking action versus keep you in a box and stop you from taking action. I will tell you this, there's a lot of metaphors that I use in this module, and I want you to focus on the metaphors because what they really do is they're going to link up your past experiences in your own life and allow you to really see how, without knowing it, your mind has worked against you and stopped you from being all that you can be, not just in sales and persuasion, but in your relationships, maybe with your children, whatever it might be, socially and especially financially. So again, this module here, it's crucial. You're going to learn very basic tools here, but that are very, very powerful. They're all going to be easy to use, which is very important. And before you watch it, I want you to remember one thing here. And you're going to hear this in the module, see it on the DVD, that you are not the mistakes of your past. You are the resources and the capabilities that you've gleaned from your past. That, if anything, is the most crucial distinction in this DVD. And I've used this, by the way, when I work with a lot of kids who are for charity with the Salvation Army, kids who had terrible, terrible upbringings and have insult after insult dealt with them by their parents, by society. Many are addicted to drugs, they're living on the streets. And when I get these kids in a room for a couple of hours and I work with them closely, the core message I get through to them is that everything that happened in your past that was an insult or that hurt you, it now becomes muscle for you to go forward, to get that learning from the past and to get tough, to be able to go forward right now, to move through fear, to move through uncertainty, and to move through self-doubt, most of all, to keep your eye focused on where you want to go. So remember, keep your action book handy, make notes, watch for the metaphors related to your own life, and I'll see you on the other side. I talked about Bobby Koch, okay? The guy who had an IQ of over Forrest Gump, right? Became a millionaire. He's a fabulous guy. And what Bobby Koch really exemplified, that trait he has, which you could call your standards in life, the standard you hold yourself to, what you will not settle for less than, okay? It's based on this, okay? You'd be willing to do what other people are unwilling to do today, to get what you want tomorrow. Most people tell you they want to get successful, they want to make money, they want to get ahead in life, but they're not willing to go the extra yard. I told you a couple of stories before, and there was in there, embedded in there, was the secret to success. I said to you that when I was 40 years old and lost my money, I went out and knocked on doors till my knuckles bled. No one else was willing to do that. I'm sure some of you were, but where I was, no one would do it. So I cornered the market in that, and I made a fortune. When I decided I wanted to become a speaker, I holed up in my house, just so you know, and not about this stuff. The straight line is, I'm unconsciously competent. I can teach this in my sleep. But I'm talking about other stuff. I do wealth creation on a different level, right, when speaking to entrepreneurs, and I had things I needed to learn and hone my own skills. I worked for months and months and months and months nonstop, reading and reading and reading, and writing and writing and writing my own thoughts, develop my own language patterns, because I knew that if I wanted to be really, truly successful at the highest level, I had to be the best, and especially the best I could be. Now I'm bearing the fruits of that. But people say, oh my God, you just started this business. You know, you started to be a public speaker last year and you know, you're on this massive world tour. No, I'm not. I didn't start this business last year. I started when I was 20 years old or 16 years old hustling ices on the beach. Who here's been a hustle since they're a teenager? Raise your hand. I bet you a lot of you are, exactly. Okay, I know. I was out sharing war stories with Mike last night. He's telling me stories. He's hustling gold watches, Rolex. He's 16 years old. He's out there in Canal Street. And I get it. I get it. That's why he's successful. That's why you're successful. That's why you're successful. Okay, because you're willing to do what it takes. Caveat, that's ethical and doesn't harm somebody else. That's productive to humanity. You do whatever it takes to become successful. So I'm going to teach you now. We're going to go into the straight line, okay, the actual mechanics of it and the language patterns, okay? And I want you to understand that for some of you, it's going to take some work because, you have your language skills are a bit lower down on the totem pole right now. You're not natural closers, so some things might take time. But if you want to be successful, and I promise you, so if you're the sort of person that's going to struggle a bit, don't worry. The beauty is in the struggle. The beauty's in the struggle. Once you get there, it's great, you enjoy it, but the beauty's in the struggle. That's the way life is. I told you the first word that's the most destructive in the English word was what? Should, right? Should. What should you? When you should all over yourself. That's what you do. Okay, it's the procrastinator's favorite. I should have went out. I should have done my taxes. Oh, shit, I got to do my taxes. I should have done this. I should have done that. And they don't do anything. That's should. The second most destructive word in the English language is this. I'll write it up here. Let's see it. Do this in blue now. Problems. Everybody's got a freaking problem. Problem. Everyone's got problems, right? What a load of crap this word is, problems. I want you to wipe this word out of your language patterns, okay, and replace it with this word. Challenges. That's the word. Problems is disempowering and overwhelms you. Challenges you meet head on and you rise up to them and you overcome them. Another word for this, obstacles, barriers, whatever is standing in your way from you and your goal and your vision. Change the word problems to challenges. Remember I said to you before earlier, who has more problems, rich people or poor people, right? Poor people's like, well, poor people. No, they don't. Rich people have more problems because they got a lot of more shit going on. And there's always a problem. There's always a problem when you have money. It's just less painful to handle it. The real word, the word that empowers you, is challenges. Look at it this way. And I know most of you are successful, but some of you probably right now are struggling financially. It's been a tough time in the economy, and some of you are on the way you're bouncing back, okay? And one of the things I say to groups of people, especially when they're struggling, when I'm doing a seminar, it's about wealth creation. There's a lot of people that really, they really want to be entrepreneurs, and they're not there yet. And they're so caught up in the muck and mire of their past, in their past mistakes, their past failures, and they're so invested in that, and they just don't think of themselves in terms of being a guy or a girl who could be successful. And let me just tell you something. Here's the real deal. If there's one thing that you get out of this for non-sales, it's this. Just for your life, you are not the mistakes of your past. You are not the mistakes of your past. You are the resources and the capabilities you've gleaned from it. There's a huge difference. As soon as you make that shift in your life, you're going to realize that anything that's happened to you bad is your greatest asset. I was interviewed on TV in New Zealand. It's online, by the way. You can find it, like last week. And I'm being interviewed by this guy, and it's a great interview from New Zealand TV. And the last question, he goes, you're making millions and millions of dollars right now. And, in some way, don't you think, are you saying you're glamorizing that, you can, commit a crime and now make millions and millions of dollars? You wrote bestsellers, you're on the tour. And this was not an adversarial interview. This was a very friendly interview. He asked me a genuine question. It wasn't like, aren't you? He was very nice about it. And I was kind of stunned for a second because I hadn't thought about it. And I said, absolutely not. I said, my past is my greatest asset. What happened to me, now I'm not proud of what I did, and I feel bad. I have remorse. Remorse, not guilt. Guilt is a loser's emotion. Remorse is the emotion that allows you to move forward and do things right. Guilt's like, oh, I feel so guilty, oh, woe is me, and you want sympathy, oh, poor you. That's bullshit. Remorse is the empowering emotion. My past is my greatest asset. My past has allowed me to, A, have the credibility to stand up in any room and know that I don't just talk the talk, but I've walked the walk, that I've made mistakes. I represent the people that are down at the bottom, no matter how low you've fallen on the totem pole of life, of relationships, of love, anything. I lost everything, not just my money. I lost my wife. She walked out the door the day I got indicted, guys. The day I was walking down the courthouse steps and she said, I want a divorce. Imagine that. Not that I was a model husband or anything while I was married to her. Those who read my book know that. But my point is this. In one day, I lost my freedom, my money, and my family. And I wanted to crawl up in a hole and die. I wanted to crawl up in a hole and die. So if you're in a spot in your life right now, I hope you're not, but if you are, I want to tell you something. There is no level, no matter how low it is, that you can't come back from, like gangbusters, because I did it. I'm living proof of it. I'm living proof. And I came back harder and higher than I ever was at, in a way that empowers other people, helps people, where I'm now, they called me the guru of anti-greed in the biggest newspaper in Australia. You know how, honestly, you know the first person I showed it to, you know who it was? My children. I said, look at your dad. I said, look at this. I said, read this article. They called me the guru of anti, and I was proud. More than the money, more than any fame I might get. When I saw that, I had to show it to my son and my daughter. That's what it's all about. So I don't care where you are in life. If you're not where you want to be, that's okay. You're not your past. You're the resources and capabilities that you've gleaned from it. Make sense, everybody? Yes or yes? Newton's law, an object in motion tends to stay in motion. What that means is as follows. If you are in a bad spot right now, if you're skidding in a bad direction right now, you're going to keep skidding there. It doesn't stop like that. An object in motion will stay in motion. Imagine this. I'll tell you a story. I fly helicopters. I used to fly a lot, helicopters. And when I took my license, to get my license, I had to do something called auto rotations. Anybody here fly helicopters at all? Okay. Auto rotations is when, if the helicopter engine dies, you can land it without an engine by allowing the helicopter to go into a controlled dive. And then at the last second, you pull up on the stick and use the stored energy, and the helicopter flares, and you skid to a safe but bumpy landing. That's auto rotation. Okay? So my captain said, he was a wild man, my captain, because he was also the captain of my yacht, which we actually sank because we drove it out into a storm. He says, listen, here's the deal, okay? Auto rotation is simple. You're going to dive down at a 45-degree angle with no engine, and at 50 feet, you're going to pull back at the stick. But the key is, do not look at the ground. You got to look forward to where you want to go. You look forward with your eyes, with your focus, and your body will take you there. I was like, okay, that's great. That's what I teach people in seminars. Like, focus on where you want to go and you'll get there, right? Great. We go up, and sure enough, we had to actually turn the engine off. We had to practice this. I was like, what a stupid idea this is. Can't we do it in a simulator? No, you can't do it in a simulator. You got to do it for real. So we go up there. I'm like, no problem. I'm, strong. I'm tough. We go out there. He turns the engine off. We start diving down. At 50 feet, I start pulling back. I'm like, holy shit, holy shit. And I'm looking at the ground. I can't take my eyes off the ground. And I'm going. He takes my chin, he yanks it up, so I look forward. I pull back on the stick, and I go to a safe but bumpy landing. Ironically, I knew not to focus on what I was scared of, but that's human nature. We focus on what we're afraid of, and we crash into it. Because on what we focus on is where we go. Where focus goes, energy flows. What you focus on expands in your life. So if you're in a skid right now, here's the metaphor for your life. If you're not going where you want to go right now, don't say, oh my God, things are so bad, things are so bad. Boom, you crash right into it. You set a goal, and you look at the goal, not the problem. You don't invest yourself in the problem, you invest in the solution. And you keep looking at it. Now, what happened is this. When the helicopter was diving at 50 feet, and I pulled back on the stick and I looked ahead, did it continue to dive? Yes. It had momentum. You get it? An object in motion will stay in the same motion. It has momentum. So my instinct was, shit, it ain't working. I want to see the hit. It's like when you want to get punched, let me at least see the punch coming, so you want to see the accident before it actually happens. Human nature, right? You want to look at it. Well, as long as I'm going to crash, I might as well look. You ever see a guy, this is the basic. There's always a guy in a Ferrari, some stupid rich guy in Westchester. He's got a Ferrari, and it's a wide open road, and there's fields everywhere, and he crashed into the one telephone pole. Like, how the hell did that happen? Guess what? Same thing, where focus goes. He's like, oh my God, a telephone pole. He's like, no, right into the telephone pole. What do you think happens when you're focusing on the crap in your life? What you focus on expands. What you focus on, you attract. So let me say this. If you're focusing on all the crap in your life, what do you become? A giant crap magnet. You attract crap to you, and it gets bigger and bigger until you fall in an avalanche of it and get destroyed. So here's the irony. So he tells me this, and I'm like, geez, I knew to look up ahead, but I couldn't do it. I said, well, let's do it again. I had to do it again. We went back up again. We started going around the thing, making a pattern. We get to the bottom. He turns off the engine. We start diving down. I'm feeling good. 50 feet. I'm like, holy shit. Again, I'm still looking down. He pushes my chin up. I pull back on the stick, and sure enough, I go to a safe landing. Why would I still look down knowing that I shouldn't? Because I'm conditioned. We are conditioned to look at our problems and to focus on our problems. And because of that, we become paralyzed with fear, and we crash right into them. Go bankrupt, lose someone we love, get sick, whatever it might be, we get destroyed. Third time up, I had to do it again to get my license, right? He takes me in, pattern, we dive down 50 feet, get to 50 feet. I pull back, and I look up. I felt like looking down, but I looked up. Why? Because I conditioned a new pattern. You can break your old patterns. Step one is interrupt them. That's what I'm trying to do right now, is interrupt your pattern. If you're one of these people who focus on crap in your life, I'm interrupting your pattern right now. Step two is condition a new pattern now. To start looking at your solutions, on your goals and on your vision. Doesn't matter where you've been. Imagine if you're on the speedboat and you look behind you at the wake. Ask yourself, does that foamy white thing have anything to do with where I'm going now? Does it? The wake does not drive the boat. Your wake is your past. What drives the boat is you, the captain, and where you're focusing on, right? Your focus, that's where you're going. And the engine, the motor, which is what? That's your actions, okay? The state that you're in, this resourceful state to be taking action and focusing on the good stuff versus the crap. That's called being not a creature of circumstance, but a creator of circumstance. You set a goal, you focus on it, laser guided, like the straight line. When someone walks in the door, if you're a salesperson, on the phone, your focus is on the close. Everything else is all the noise in between. It's life. So you condition a new pattern and you move forward. It's as simple as that. At the heart of it all, and I'm going to move on past this stuff, self-development, at the heart of it all, but I need to give you this stuff too, because it's really important for sales, especially when you're in an up and down business, and one day it's great, next day it's a disaster. And I want to just share some distinctions with you that can help you manage the way you feel as a salesperson, as a human being, moment to moment. Because what a state does, your state, I'm talking about your physiological, emotional state, how you feel now. There are states that lead to wealth and success. I said a couple before about sales: certainty, clarity, conviction, confidence. In your personal life, are those the best states? Maybe not. Maybe it's love, compassion, understanding, empathy. Those are very empowering states. Master the ability to be in those states, and you got something. Conversely, there's disempowering states, which are fear, jealousy, greed. And on the opposite Ambition would be the empowering state, right? Jealousy, greed, overwhelm, uncertainty. Those states lead you to A, perform at a low level, B, to be in more unresourceful states because they almost snowball on each other. You know when you're on a roll as a salesperson and you're just doing great, and you're like, I'm on a roll, right? That's called a resourceful state, yielding a resourceful state, yielding a resourceful state. And when you're feeling like crap as a salesperson and you can't close a door, okay, it's because, damn, I can't close, damn, I can't close, and you walk in. I'll tell you a great story about state management. My first day ever training for sales. I was 21 years old, and it was door-to-door sales for meat and seafood, as I said. My first day on the job, my friend trained me. Lives in Florida, very successful guy, very successful. And he was selling on a pickup truck. You know those guys that go around selling steaks and shrimps and lobsters on boxes, right? And he takes me around his door-to-door cold canvassing, the worst job in the world. I mean, really awful job. Takes me around, and he knocks on like 20 doors in the morning. And each door's like, hey, how you doing? My name's Elliot. I deliver filet mignon, shrimp, blah, blah, blah. All upbeat and positive, you know? And I'm looking at this thing, and everyone's like, no, and then I should know, slamming the door in his face, okay? Somewhere around 12:30, I walk up to the door with Elliot, and he opens the door, and I see his shoulders are getting slightly down and down. He's not negative yet, right? Almost like 12:30, he knocks on the door, and they open the door. He goes like, you wouldn't want any filet mignon, shrimp, and lobster tails, right? I mean, I delivered to some of the other people no one wants today. Do you want any? That's how his rap degenerated. He went in a state of complete and utter uncertainty. You can't close, you can't open, you can't do anything as a salesperson if you're in that state where you don't think they're going to buy. You cannot do anything meaningful in that state. And I watched it before my eyes, a salesperson, and you must see this if you're in, especially if you're a sales manager and you're sitting in an office, you see someone that's not doing well, and you watch how they just sink and sink and sink, and they pick up the phone, they're like, hi, it's, so-and-so calling from XYZ company. You really wouldn't want any of my product, would you? Not gonna close a lot like that. That's the ability to manage your state. It's how you act in the moment. So you might be the best salesman in the world, but how are you right now? Can you close right now? You might be the best parent in the world, but if you're in a state of impatience, how great of a parent can you be? You might have read all the books on parenting. You might love your kids to death, but if you're in a disempowered state of impatience and overwhelm, can you parent? Yes or no? You can't. You might be the greatest closer in the world, but you're in a state of absolute uncertainty. Can you close? They pick on that up in a second. They pick up on it in a second. The state you're in the moment, dictates your success or failure. There's one thing in life, a distinction that can really get you ahead. It's the ability to manage your state. Bar none, that's number one. How our brain makes sense of the world, okay? We do three things, okay, in this room right now. You think you're seeing the whole room, but you're not. What you're doing is you're deleting, distorting, and generalizing everything around you to make sense of the world. Write that down. You delete, distort, and generalize. I'm going to give you a very quick exercise here so you can see the power of this. And I want everybody right now to close their eyes. And with your eyes closed, please, everyone close your eyes for this exercise, just for a couple seconds. And I want, with your eyes closed, I want you to, okay, clear it out completely now so you see nothing. Just nothing. Go for blankness right now. Okay? 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 Now, I want you to open up your eyes, okay? And I want you to look around the room for blue. Look for blue, look for blue, look for blue, look for blue, look for blue. As much blue as you can possibly find in this room. Look for blue, look for blue, look for more blue. Now stop and close your eyes, okay? With your eyes closed, I want you to think of everything in the room that's red. So, yeah, I bet you see a lot more blue right now than red, right? Now open your eyes, and now start looking for red. Look for red, look for red, look for red. Look for red, look for red, look for more red. Okay, great. You see a lot more red now that you're looking for it. Carpet's red, right? Her shirt is red, right? The exit sign is red. The Coca-Cola, the bottom of the top is red, right? Anyone else see any red? Who sees red? The chair is red, okay? Anything else red? Anyone else see red? Got the carpet, what else? Anything else is red in the room? Keep going. There's got to be more red in this room. Exit sign said the exit sign. Anything else is red? Okay, there we go. Bingo! Okay, he said it. He said the chair is red. Is the chair really red, though? Barely. It's almost pinkish, the chair. But because he's looking for it, you know what happens? You start making shit up to be right. It happens every time. It's really more pink than red. It's not red. It's almost, maybe it's red. It's like, well, why not red? Sure, I'm looking for it. So let me ask you this. What happens when you start looking for problems? You'll start making them up if they ain't even there. That's the power of deletion. Conversely, what happens when you're focusing on your goal and your vision? You start seeing every opportunity that comes your way. If you're out there looking for all the crap on the problem, the opportunities fly over your head every single time. You delete them out. There's a portion of your brain called the RAS, the reticular activating system. And what it does, it decides what you focus on and what you ignore. Because you can't focus on everything around you. There's too much data. Right now, you're focusing on me, maybe that, maybe the person to your right, everything else. You're not feeling it. You don't hear the beating of your heart in your artery over here by your ear. You don't hear the hum of the air conditioner. Now you do. I ignited your RAS. You don't hear that wriggling of his paper, or maybe you did, but if you heard that, you weren't hearing the air conditioner. You can't hear it all. You just can't. Your unconscious mind gets it all. It absorbs it all, because it's much more powerful than your conscious mind, and you start getting stuff in there. You don't even realize it's there. When you delete out solutions in your life, you're never going to get ahead. That's why setting goals and having vision is so important. So you delete, okay, number one. Second thing, you distort. This is a classic. Distort stuff. I always love when it's men and women fighting with each other. You know, a guy fights with his wife. He calls up his friend. He goes, my wife is the biggest ass in the world. I can't. She always henpecks me. She's always got a problem. She never understands me. Words like always, never, biggest. We distort the truth to make always. Every human being does this. And then what does your friend say? I know exactly what you mean. They're all like that. They're all. And then the woman calls up her friend. My husband is the biggest ass. He doesn't see me. He doesn't understand me. Never sees me, never understands me. And I know no men, they're all like that. We do. Men and women, it's both sexes do that. We distort everything. We make the things that are good really good, and the things that are bad are really, really bad. We delete, we distort, and lastly, we generalize. We look to make patterns. To understand these three things when you're closing, the reason why I'm saying this, you're going to start to learn how to use this to close. Because when you get people seeing things a certain way, you ignite their RAS, they will delete out the problems. Distort to allow themselves to wash in the positive emotions of your product. 3, to generalize, that because you sound good and seem honest and all this stuff, you are. You are. You're not like the rest of them. You generalize. You use these things. It's very powerful tools to motivate yourself and motivate other people to buy. But again, never do this in a way that disempowers somebody else. Don't get them to falsely associate into a good benefit if it's not really there for them. If it is there, you ought to. You really shame on you if you don't allow someone to really feel the benefit of a product. You're not doing your job. Shame on you. Likewise, if they're all focused on the negative, you don't move into the positive, no one can live like that in the negative, right? You do your job, but don't do it in an evil, underhanded way, okay? And that's the ship right there that I should have shown earlier, okay? And that represents, okay, with you at the helm, controlling your destiny towards your goal, right? If that ship leaves Tampa and sets sail for Spain, and there's a captain at the helm, what percentage of the time will it reach Spain? Like 99.9, right? Almost always, unless something really bad happens. Okay? Now imagine that ship going to Spain without a captain, going randomly. What's the chances of it reaching its goal? Like 0. Won't happen. Okay? I want you to imagine every sail that you make from this point forward has a goal. From the time you start the sail, it has a goal, and the goal is going to be the close, okay? The 3 ways of managing fear. Number 1, pretend it doesn't exist. You ignore it. This is what people who really live life at the lowest level, they're all employees. They never own a business. They don't sell on commission. They never get ahead in life. They're creatures of utter circumstance. They say, I'm not scared of anything. They don't pretend, I'm not scared. No, it's not fear that's holding me back from taking action. It's not fear that stops me from being a commission-based salesman. It's not fear that stops me from opening my own business. No, it's my story. And they have a story about why they don't have what they want in life. And that's what holds them back from getting what they want in life. It's your fear. This is what holds you back. Plain and simple. That's strategy 1. They ignore it, and they live a completely disempowered existence. This is the next way to manage fear. You act in spite of fear. This is what I did for many, many years. When I first started, and I still struggle with it today, by the way. I bet most of you in this room probably live this way. You're scared to hell, but you still act. You're scared to fail, but you act. You're scared to do something, you act. You're scared to go up to a grown-up bar, but you do it. When you live this way, you become very wealthy, but very miserable. You become anxious. You feel anxiety. Because what's happening is you're scared to do stuff. You're scared about your outcomes. You live in fear, but you act anyway. You don't let it disempower you, but you let it give you those terrible feelings inside of anxiety. I lived this way for many, many years. When I first met my girlfriend, she's like, I've never met a guy like you. You are just not scared of anything in terms of business and success and finish. You're not scared of anything. You go out and do it. I'm like, whoa. I said, no, I'm really scared. I just don't let it stop me. There's a difference. Of course I'm scared. I just act. That's not the best way to manage fear. The best way to manage fear is this, is to understand it and accept it. This is how you really manage fear and live an empowered life with positive emotions, not just money, but you live your life at a higher emotional level. And what that really means, when I say understand it and accept it, what it means is this, is to just accept the fact that most of the fears that you feel are smokescreens for deeper fears. And there's 2 fears that have really run deep for all human beings, and I'll tell you what they are. And the first is that in some way, on some level, you're not enough. You're just not enough. You're perceived by people that you love and like, you're not enough. You don't measure up. I had that fear my whole life. And I worked really, really, really hard to measure up, which is difficult when you're 5'7", maybe 5'6" 3/4. But either way, okay, I worked my whole life to measure up, because in my mind, I felt like whatever it is, like, I wasn't enough, okay? And I worked really, really hard. I don't know why I felt it, but I just did. I know, man, I'm just being honest with you. And guess what? If you don't, we've all felt this way. If you're lying, if you say, no, not me, I never, of course you did. The second fear that runs even deeper than not measuring up is that if I don't measure up, I won't be loved or accepted and liked. They won't love me. And I really felt that one too. And I'm sure at one point in life, not every day, you all have. You develop smoke screens to get around that. It's such a powerful, deep-seated fear. And it comes back, you know what it comes back to? When we were babies, it's not your fault or my fault. When we were babies, we made a very, very bad generalization. You know, we delete, distort, and generalize. The generalization that we made is we equated attention and love as the same thing. We made that mistake as when we were this big. You know, one day we were crying and we were perfect. They loved us. Our parents loved us. We were babies. We were perfect. We could poop in our diaper. They loved us. They loved us. And all of a sudden, one day, you weren't that cute anymore. You were like a year and a half and you cried. They're like, stop it. And you're like, what the hell happened here? I had it really good before. You know? Some babies are like, wow, wow, and still no one loves them, no one likes them. Then all of a sudden they fall down, they get hurt, and their mother runs, oh my God, And we find one of these people, we call them problem people. They know they get attention by having problems. If they hurt really bad, people will love them and they'll get attention. You have problem people. Other people, what happens is they, feel neglected, they're not getting that connection right, and all of a sudden they get up, they start to walk again, and mother's like, oh my God, the baby's walking, look. And an achiever's born. And they get their attention and love through achievement. That's what I did. Okay? Other people, okay, they're babies, they're not getting the attention, they feel that loss of love, and they go out and they break something. What did you do? They got the connection back. You got people that are always breaking shit. They're broken people, and they get the connection like that. Pleasers, breakers, achievers, problem people. There's a million ways to get the connection and love back. Which one are you? I'm an achiever. We all have our strategies we run to get the connection back, but at the heart of it all is this irrational fear that we won't be loved and we're not enough. When you accept that, when I actually took that into my heart and realized the truth is it doesn't matter whether I succeed or fail. My kids love me. My significant other loves me. My parents love me. My friends will love me. Once I got to that point, it allowed me to then operate at the highest level and feel good about it and not be miserable every single day about my outcome. You follow that concept? Okay, it becomes much different then. So try to take your fear. It's not overnight. You still struggle with everything. Remember, when you're feeling fearful and you're feeling disempowered, and you're caught, here's the devil's trick, is the story. It's almost like there's a circuit breaker effect that pops in. It's like you start feeling, boom, story. I'm not rich because the economy's bad. That's your story, okay? I'm not rich because my boss is an asshole. Okay? I'm not rich because I wasn't born rich. Guess what? That's what poor people, they were always rich. No, they weren't. 94% of the rich people in the world started out with nothing. And I'm one of them. I know there's others in this room too. Okay, so it's all excuses, it's all crap, okay? The system basically works, okay, it's the bottom line. You have to sell yourself, not just on the straight line, but on your own life, okay? When you focus on your life every day, you look at the successes, not the failures. I will tell you, and I had dinner with Mike last night, and we talked about this. It was very funny. He's like, God, I can't tell you how many failures I've had in my life. He started raffling with like 12 businesses, like, fail. But at the end, and this is two guys talking about it in conceptual terms, right, to understand human performance, right? But I can promise you this, that when I go out into the world and I'm thinking and acting, I'm only remembering my successes. I don't invest myself in my failures. At the end of the day, it's the successes that you celebrate and you build on them. If you set a goal, I assure you this, and you will set goals today, I assure you that if you set a goal and there's 6 or 7 things required to achieve that goal, you will fail on 4 of them. You will. And I will use the word failure in a very special way because it's really feedback. But let's just call it failure for a second until we reframe that, okay? You'll fail on 4 of them, and 2 or 3 will be perfect, right? You focus on what's working. At the end of the day, you build on what's working, not on what's not working. You focus on your successes, you get yourself into a peak state, and you move forward. You change your approach for what's not working. And that's how you move forward in life, okay? We're gonna set right now, okay, 60-day goals. I wanna explain to you exactly what you gotta do here, okay? It's very simple, okay? I want you to set a goal, and I want this goal to be specific for the amount of money you wanna be earning at that point. I want you to break it down into how many sales you need to be closing to get to the point you want as a salesperson. Mostly salespeople here. How many hours a week you're gonna be working, or a day. How many dials, whatever it is. I want you to get very specific on exactly what you want. I want you to set your goals, I said, not up at the ceiling. You raise your hand as high as you can and just a little bit more. That's where your goal should be. Reachable, but stretch. The greatest cause, the number one cause of mediocrity in this world is not that people set goals that are lofty and miss them. That's not what happens. Is you set goals that aren't lofty enough and you hit them. And you become average. Average sucks. Average doesn't make it in this world. It just doesn't, especially if you're in sales. You have to set your goals high enough so that they're meaningful when you hit them. Or else you'll set these little goals. Oh, I got my goal, great. Nothing happens. I want you to set goals at that level I spoke about, just above where you're comfortable. And I want you now to take it one step further and take that goal and make it into a vision. I want you to get specific. Write down exactly how you see yourself in 60 days from now, enjoying your newfound prosperity or your increased prosperity. Who will you be talking to? What will you be saying? How do you feel? Did you buy something new? Is there something in your house you wanted to get fixed? Is there a credit card bill that's overdue that you couldn't pay? And you paid it? Yahoo! I just paid my bill. I want you to imagine yourself at that moment and allow those feelings to wash over you and write it down. When you write down a goal, here's the system. Number one, you write down a goal. Two, you put a date on it. Your goal has to have a date. Step three, identify the peoples, the groups, and the organizations you need to align yourself with. Step four, you take massive action. Step five, see what's working and what's not and change your approach accordingly. That's it. Set a goal, put a date on it. Identify the peoples, groups, and organizations standing in your way or you need to align yourself with. The obstacles. Take massive action. See what's working, see what's not working, and you change your approach. You set a goal, you got to do 7 things, you accomplish 3, great, excellent. 4 that didn't work, what's not working? Tweak it. You don't do the same thing over and over again. That's the definition of insanity, right? To do the same thing again and again and expect a different result. So I want you to set a goal, and I want you to put a date on it. I want you to get specific how you're going to feel in your personal life, what you can buy, and I want you to, in there, include someone more important to you than yourself. Whether it's your children, your spouse, or your parents, someone more important to you than yourself, and I want you to write something that you could do for them for achieving this goal. It should be no more, this whole thing should be no more than a page. Just 1 page. I want to make it specific with language. Doesn't matter if you're a good writer or a bad writer. Doesn't matter. Just make it specific for language. No one's going to see this goal but you. I'm not going to ask you to read these out loud. They're for you. They're only for you. But what I am going to do is I'm going to ask you to take them and put the bullets on a little card and carry it around with you for the next 60 days. I want you to carry your goals around with you. And on top of your goals is going to be your vision. I'm going to ask you to put I'm going to ask you to put your goals and your vision on your screensaver for your telephone. So every time you pick up your iPod or your iPhone or your BlackBerry, whatever it might be, you see your goal. Because what it does is it ignites your RAS. And you start seeing all the red and not the blue. You start seeing all the opportunity and all the positives and not the negatives. And you soar. So what do you think of Module 5? For my money, Module 5 is perhaps the most pivotal module of all because that's the one that really gets into selling yourself, your own mindset, getting yourself prepared to accept the rest of the information here and to act on it and to feel good about it. To not go through life in that, disempowered creature of circumstance state where you really think the world happens to you, and to live as a creator of circumstance. To know that the actions that you take on a consistent basis will ultimately yield that result, that laser-guided focus. Remember we spoke about Newton's law that an object in motion tends to stay in motion? Well, we know that's true. You heard it on the DVD, and when you've related, hopefully, that metaphor to your own life, you've seen times that you were heading down the wrong path, yet through simple inertia, you just kept walking down that same path. So the idea now is to remember that the most powerful way to break that negative momentum is through massive, directed action. So the goal here and the action steps here, there's 2 of them, are going to be, number 1, to take one definite, precise action tomorrow. Or if it's still early in the day, then you can take it today. And also, make sure that that action impacts you in persuasion. Don't make it some random action. I want it to be about what you're learning. Secondly, we're going to set 60-day goals here. and get serious about this. Remember, you got to put a date on your goals, identify the peoples, groups, and organizations that you need to align yourself with, any skills you need to learn, and then you're going to take that massive, massive action. And when I say massive action, by the way, it could be a baby step, because a series of baby steps together yield massive action. But make sure these baby steps are close enough together to break the negative momentum. And if you take the steps, you take the massive action, I want you to analyze your results, see what's working, what's not working, and you're going to change your plan accordingly. Shockingly, what you're going to find out is there's not that much that's not working for you when it comes to persuasion. And the reason is because you're dealing with a proven system. And that's the beauty of a system. See, rather than having to make all the mistakes yourself and figuring this stuff out, you're dealing with someone like me who's been doing this for, 23 years now, actually 25 years, I'm getting older, and who's trained thousands and thousands of people. And I've seen the struggles that they go through, and I've specifically designed and then redesigned the system to deal with those struggles, to make it ABC simple, step by step, move by move, to allow you to embrace these techniques so you'll be the best persuader you can possibly be.